You're listening to The People's Pitch, the official podcast of Minneapolis City Soccer Club, brought to you by footballstadiumprints.com. Let's start the show.
And as I talked about just a couple minutes ago, as Joe Watt stands over this one, he appears to be the one taking the penalty here. This is a huge confidence booster if you're Duluth.
Worst case scenario for City right here.
And it stopped!
Yes!
And it stopped!
Totally redeems himself.
Matt Elder redeeming himself. Oliver with the right foot. The shot is goal!
Oliver!
Justin Oliver will break the scoreless tie. And it is 1-0 Minneapolis City. Is Hutton now on the offense with the left foot.
Goal!
And it is now 2-0 Minneapolis City.
Good finish.
Nick Hutton taking his quick victory lap.
Welcome to your home for snatching late points on the road. This is the People's Pitch Podcast, the official podcast of your Minneapolis City SC. I am your host, Nate, joined as always by the busiest man in U9 soccer, John Bisworm. John, what a jolt of energy that first home game was. Like, only to be followed up by another white knuckler on the road. I can't wait for Friday night's game. An atmosphere like the season is going. How awesome is this?
It's great, and it has a different feel to it than it did in the last two seasons, doesn't it? Like, there's just kind of like of course we gave up an early goal in our first game, and we're like, damn it, this again?
Yep.
But only to battle back, and we haven't been back battlers, for lack of a better way to describe it, for quite some time now. I mean, realistically speaking, the last time we fell into a hole and we put forth a serious battle back effort was in our first USL 2 season on the road to Peoria when Wes Lawrence found Eli Goldman for a 93rd minute game tying goal to get 1 point on the road against Peoria, and then ultimately turned around the next week and we had to battle back from that. Like, what was it, a 9-goal fest against RKC?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So it just feels different.
It does. And tonight we've got a recap of the away draw against Riverlight, battling back until the end, and a preview of the upcoming match against the Dutch Lions, which is, I'm licking my lips, John. I don't know about you. Plus, MC2 saw action for the first time this summer, so we'll talk about the big friendly against Duluth.
Yeah, the boys for the USL2 hit the road for their first road trip to Illinois for the club since our epic road trip to smack Aurora in the Open Cup in 2018. That was a fun one, wasn't it, Nate?
Yeah, it was.
But this time, instead of a group of high-level, older amateur players awaiting us, we were faced with a well-stocked Riverlight team that had players from colleges of substance all across the Midwest and currently sitting atop the Heartland Conference. So going for the Crows, in goal, Daniel Sessler, a backline of Nick Kent, Jared Heck, and Cole. Is it Schraggy or Schraggy?
Schraggy.
Schraggy? Are we sure about that?
Or Schrag. I don't know. I thought look, you gave me the pronunciation guide.
Clearly I didn't read it. I gave it to you. We'll get that one right before Friday. And then sitting in front of the back line was Joey Tawa. And then in front of him was Ian Shaw and Jackson Kerr. So that central midfield wasn't changed from game one. And then making his season debut out on the right wing was Morgan Olson. Left mid, Andrew Heckenleibel. And then your strike partners of Preston Kipnusu and Mizael Harris making his season debut. So, strong lineup. I'll get into that in a second. And then substitutions were goalkeeper Jack Roach, center back, defender Jeffrey Richter, center mid Andrew Holmes, and Scotty Heinen. And then from an attacking perspective, you had everyone, this show's favorite, Augie, Mitch Munzing, and our second favorite, Augie, Tomas Mena.
That's right. Road games that feature a lot of travel, John, are always tough.
We have a lot of them.
And this one was probably made more so by how early in the season it is. So the player pool already a little smaller than you'd want, but you're also competing with like Memorial Day plans. And I'd still say this is a good traveling group. Like even that bench you're looking at, even though Scotty Heinen had to kind of come out of half retirement. Yeah, still can play, right? You had Mena and Munzing, Andrew Holmes, Jeff Richter. Like these guys are all top level D2, D3 college players on the bench. So it's not like we were starving here. It was pretty solid.
I think this one spoke of the depth that we had talked about in-house this year, Nate. Like in previous years, I think we would have kind of killed to have a unit that had half of these guys starting day in and day out. But the difference being that they were fill-ins for some guys that couldn't make the trip. And you're still happy with it, right?
Yeah. After spending most of last season as, I think, the ultimate team player, serving as the number one goalkeeper for the U19s, Daniel Sessler gets the call to start, and he had an immediate impact, didn't he? He made a phenomenal close-range save off of a set piece within the first 2 minutes. He also made 2 huge saves denying Riverlight on a 5-on-2 break. Like, what does that feel like as a field player, John, when you know that you're trying to get your shit together out there? Maybe you had your unit's having a slow start to the game, and your keeper is standing on his head, keeping you in the game. What does that feel like to know that like he's giving you the chance to figure it out?
Well, there's 2 sides of this coin, Nate, as a player. Like number one, you can see it on any high level soccer game that's on television or live in person. When this is happening, the goalkeeper is absolutely just undressing the back line in front of him. Like, what the hell, guys? Like, get it together. Like, I need you. And on the inverse, the other side of the coin is it does amp you up. Like, there is nothing better than making a mistake and you know it's your mistake, and then you turn around and you don't, and the cheers are coming from your fans and not the other fans because your goalkeeper just made a spectacular save and you don't get the undressing from the coach. Instead you're getting it from the goalkeeper because you didn't make the massive mistake.
Yeah, and I think that gave everyone a little bit of a boost. City absorbed a lot of pressure in the first half, and really only broke at the end of the 45 when this free kick from about 5 yards beyond the top right corner of the box found the head of defender Slavic, and Riverlight was up 1-0 going into the locker room. They just crashed that box, man. It felt like some of those guys were dancing through unmarked, like sprinting through unmarked, right through the defense. The header was driven home with authority. Sessler had no chance. Not the way you want to go into the half.
Yeah, I think that one, I went back and looked at it again today in preparation of this award-winning #1 podcast about your Minneapolis City Soccer Club. And I think that the zonal marking on set pieces was the downfall there, because you saw 2 players, I won't name them if you go back and watch it, both looking at each other after the guy split between both of them. So when you're talking about zonal marking, I know some people love it. I particularly hate it. I think that you got to go mano a mano. And if you're going to get beat by the guy you're supposed to be marking and not the questions that come from a zonal system. Or the zonal system also could have you run into your own player because you're kind of bumping up against each other's line, and that can cause problems as well. But anyways, it was a good ball and it was a good finish. But I thought we struggled quite a bit to keep the ball, and when we did keep it, it was really mostly Joey Tawa on the ball, feet from the center backs, having to go short, right back to the defenders or to Sessler in net because Riverlight was pressing extremely high. Like, you saw it right away on our first goal kick. They were like chomping at the bit. Like, They weren't dropping back, and they were almost daring us to go long with it and hoping to kind of win the second ball. But what it didn't do is it didn't afford us a windows for Tawa to find any of his central midfield partners. Like, there was very, very little connection between Shaw and Kirsch and Tawa, or even the back line, to be honest with you, unless it was going long and they were getting the knockdown from Gipnusu. So it was kind of a real difficult start for us. And like you said, like we bent, but we didn't break. Those couple saves from Sessler, but that last goal kind of just felt like it was building because they were all over us in the half. I think the big move in the first half for me was Oliver choosing to move Harris from the front line to the wing. That moved Olsen into the middle and pushed Kirsch up top with his solid running mate Gipnusu. I want to say this respectfully, Ms. Harris did a ton of really good things for Minneapolis City last year. I thought that up top, not as effective. I think that isn't his game, and that's not his fault. Like, I don't think he's an all-out striker, even in a 2-striker system where he can kind of float a little bit and maybe try to combine. I think he is best fit out wide, and I think the natural fit for me, but ultimately knowing that Tomas Mena was going to be playing in the big friendly and getting 90 minutes for MC2, I think that he probably was the logical choice to partner with Kipnusu up top. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but I thought that the game and the way that River Light was pressing, Miz couldn't find the ball, and when he did find it, he was just swarmed, and he's not a big body to be able to hold those guys off.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it was an interesting idea to try him at striker, but that's not where he's threatening at Augsburg. On that left side, he can use his speed to cut in. He can lay it off. He can take the shot himself. But when you're more centrally located, and the focus of a little bit more of the focus of the attack, you're right. You get swarmed, you get bodied off the ball, and that's just not his game. So I totally agree with you.
And I think, sorry.
Nope, that was it.
So I think ultimately that led to what you saw coming out of the second half, or into the second half, was Jared Heck moving up top. And I think that was a great move because it basically gave us two options to go direct. And that, I'll get into it in a little bit here. That I think is what drew River Light more back into a defensive shape instead of the press, because they weren't able to collapse us in our defensive third. We were going over the top of it, and we had two targets.
Yeah, for the second week in a row, this is Coach Oliver making an adjustment to beat that press. And again, it worked. I think it's so interesting that both these teams, RKC and River Light, came out with the press, trying to force Minneapolis City to make big mistakes, not letting us build the way that maybe traditionally the club has in the past. Do you feel like City spent the second half on the front foot because of that adjustment, looking more and more dangerous as the half went on? Because I definitely do.
Absolutely. I agree with you. It worked because like I mentioned, it gave River Light a different look. And although we did not see what you would feel as a true combination between Hecht and Kipnusu, combining for danger with each other, they were knocking down the long balls to the wingers and to the central mids, and it was starting to open up Kirsch and Olsen to find the ball. Second half substitute making his season debut, our show's favorite Augie, Mitch Munzing. All three of those players got on the ball in more volume in the offensive third. And then funny enough, Nate, possession moved higher up the field, so comes more chances that we were sorely lacking in the first half. And then the big chance, no blood drawn really leading up in 5+ in the second half, but the big chance came from Kipnusu, and this was his moment where he finally found the space where it looked like he could turn and load up a shot. Finally we're able to see that instead of him just getting fouled all the time. But once again, he was brought down, unable to get that shot off, and about 25 yards outside of the River Light net, Kirsch and Shaw both stood over the ball. There was no chance in my mind that the ball wasn't going to go to Kirsch. But after a brief discussion between the two, Kirsch stepped up. I think he said it in his post-match interview, chose route B under the end of the wall, and the River Light goalkeeper, being totally screened at that point, had no shot at the stoppage time strike that saw the Crows take home a point. And right there, if you look at the early season, I know it's only been 2 games, a few bounces go our way. We take all 6 points from the top 2 teams in the division right now to start the season. But if you also told me that we could have a pair of points from both those matches, especially this one, I am completely happy with that, Nate.
Yeah, I'm with you, John. What I love about the little discussion between Kirsch and Ian Shaw, Shaw whispering the suggestion to go under the wall, which feels very Saka to Rice in that game against Real Madrid. But these guys are, they're just kind of learning to play together. Ian Shaw is from Notre Dame, Kirsch from Drake. So it's good to see that kind of respect and trust this early in the season. And you're right. If you told me wow, we're going to play against the top 2 teams, projected top 2 teams in the Heartland division with, for the most part, a group of players that have never put on a Minneapolis City shirt before, and we're going to get 2 points out of it, I might not have believed you fully the way that last year went. But I'm really happy with these draws so far this year, and the fight that we've seen out of these Crows, led by the Bulldogs on the field.
I mean, I think you're 100% correct, Nate, and you need that early cohesion. I mean, we've said so many times before, gone are the days where we have 3 or 4 seasons where we see the same core that knows each other, has played together for a long time. Like they're training together well before other teams in our divisions are even like getting guys in.
Yep.
And we need that cohesion, and we need it fast, especially when you're playing against the caliber that we're playing with in the USL2 or against in the USL2 in this new era of Minneapolis City.
For sure. It's tough, and it's always tough to get points on the road, like especially against a team we didn't know much about, and that's been pegged as one of the top 2 or 3 in this new look Heartland division. But what a good sign of things to come this season. They were able to open it up with, I guess the hardest part of the schedule and come away with 2 points.
Yeah, nothing really more for me to add on this one, Nate. Undefeated still, hanging on without dropping all the points in a game, and there's firepower, Nate, ready to be unleashed.
That's right.
You want to win them all, but I feel good about where we sit right now.
That's awesome. What's next, John?
All right. Well, we are back in the friendly confines of the Nelly Friday night, welcoming the Dutch Lions of Chicago. Did a little bit of internet research today, and quick snapshot of the Dutch Lions. They were founded in December 2020 by something called the Dutch Lions Capital Group USA LLC, so limited liability. Hope they don't get sued. The initial focus for the Dutch Lions Capital Group was a women's team, which was founded in the WPSL. But in 2022, the club expanded to include a USL2 men's team, and then ultimately elevating to a USLW team. The CEO of said Dutch Lions Capital Group USA LLC is a guy that goes by Nikhil Erlbach, and his background is a former youth player for FC St. Pauli in Germany and played his college soccer at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. That's almost even more of a mouthful than Dutch Lions Capital Group USA LLC. He also has extensive coaching experience and club administration experience, as well as playing and representing both the USA and Germany in his playing time. But when we talk about the club itself...
St. Pauli, John.
What's that?
St. Pauli.
Yeah, St. Pauli.
Tell us your St. Pauli story real quick. You've played there.
I got hit by a bag of pee by a fan playing against St. Pauli. And it messed me up for like the 25 minutes I was on for a substitute. And you know why, Nate? Because in my head was not like, am I going to get hit with anything else? In my head was, did they bring the pee in, like smuggle it in, or did they bring a bag in and pee in it in the stadium? So either way, there was ill intent, and I just happened to be the target.
Oh, rough.
Yeah, gross. But anyways, so from a club perspective, the Dutch Lions the Chicago Dutch Lions are one of 10 clubs that have been underneath the umbrella of Dutch Lions FC. It includes the inaugural teams in Dayton, Ohio, where I was born, nice. And where I met club co-founder Dan Hudeman. Also Houston, Cincinnati, and Miami, to name a few others. And the organization was a co-founder minority partner of getting FC Cincinnati off the ground in Major League Soccer. So real interesting situation for a club, and quite a bit different than ours. But in 2024, their record was 0 wins, 0 draws, and dropped 12 buckets into the loss column. Scored 5 goals, gave up 53, and that was 0 points, good for last place in the Heartland Conference.
I shouldn't laugh. It's disrespectful. Yeah. It's like, it's clearly like a franchise model, right? They've got teams in Houston, Dayton, Cincy, Miami, all these places, Chicago.
Multiple divisions of teams.
It's just like, this is the worst franchise. Like the model is not working for whoever this owner is in Chicago.
Well, I mean, it could be working like across the board. Like their model could be like they want to elevate and sell players, which I kind of feel like that is because of how they're set up. But sure. At the USL2 level, it might not be clicking, but that doesn't say that they aren't developing players there. You can still go over and have like 2 really good players that get sold.
That's fair. I mean, that makes business sense, I suppose.
Right.
So despite merging with Chicago City FC last year, who managed 8 points on the 2024 season, it's not really looking good for the Dutch Lions this year. They started the season with a 5-3 loss against River Light. Since then, have not scored in 2 games. They gave up 7 against RKC and then 3 against Rochester. So this could be a fun one for us.
I hate to look too far forward because soccer's weird sometimes, Nate, but this one has very heavy Sioux Falls Thunder vibes to it for me, where it could be like a 2-0 win, a 6-1 win, or like a 3-2 unnecessary nail biter that goes either way. So I don't really know what to expect. But
Yeah.
I can expect that this match will be streamed live on Sports Engine Play as well as YouTube. We just don't want people to know that because the league wants us to use Sports Engine Play. So just head on over to Sports Engine Play before the game time and search for MPLS City SC and you will find the link. Nate, what time's game time at?
7 p.m., sir.
7 p.m. at the Nelly. Tickets are available, sim game tickets, as well as you can still get that season pass, which I think is way more economically smart for you. And you head on over to mplscitysc.com and you can get, again, single game tickets for that season pass.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about matches, let's talk about
one more recap for you.
One more recap. The big friendly took place last Saturday, excuse me. The new look MC2 took the field for the first time under coach Josh Roy in a friendly against our wonderful friends from Duluth that was in the end not so friendly to the Crows defense. We'll get into that. But starters for this match saw Tomas Mena. I mentioned it briefly earlier that he went the full 90 in this match. So that's out of the bag there. His strike partner was AJ Welje. In the midfield was Colin Vilm, Darcy Davis, Sam Keating, Otis Anderson, and Andrew Holmes. And then you had a backline of Damon Humphreys, McCade, Schatzko, Reed Wolf, and in goal was Jack Roach, who we didn't mention. Jack Roach did come into that River Lake game and made a couple really solid saves to keep the team within one score, and ultimately we know what happened there. But there was no injury. It was planned to get Jack Roach 45 and Cessna 45. But anyways, on to this one. From a substitute perspective, you had Mickey Daniel, Marco Lennon, Hudson Benitez, Cy Friesen, Leo Runstead, Braden Martinez, Sung Suji Asin. I always get that one wrong. I'm bad with names. Andre Ketsick, Sam Holberg, Sam Diebold, and Kyle Berg. A lot of Sams.
A lot of Sams. And they were going up against a Duluth team that you said brought like an entire...
They brought everybody.
Like a 40-man football roster.
The rules were that there could be unlimited subs, but there were only 5 windows to make those subs. So I think Duluth was smart about this one because they played 3 days later. So they played another game this week in the MPSL. So you don't want to trot out your starting 11 and play them 90 minutes just to beat Minneapolis City.
Right.
And ultimately MC at that. I think that they made the smart play and they started some of their starters and played them for a half, and then a full 11 came on in the second half.
Yeah, and John, this is a matchup, Minneapolis City versus Duluth, that has given us a lot of great games, and some of them very close, and some of them really good competition. Like even in our worst results, and I'm thinking like the NPSL playoff game, where like Abdallah Ba couldn't get his nose ring out. Like we played down a man. I think like Brandon McGarity gets hurt. Anyway, even that game at least felt competitive, and this was not one of those games. Duluth was able to really overrun our 3-back system almost at will. And what I was seeing, John, is they'd take advantage of how far up the field like the outside center backs would get. They would drive at the side opposite of the center back out of position, and they forced that middle center back then to decide on helping out on the 1v1, and that meant leaving the back post wide open to an easy pass, or then you got to or picking up the second runner. So in almost every case, it was a Duluth attacker 1v1 against our center back who always had an option to lay it off. And when you add a third runner in the mix, there was almost no hope for our defense. I think I texted you before Duluth scored their second that the game at that point probably should have been 4-0. What was happening?
Well, first off, I feel like Baby Bird has left the nest hearing the words second and third runner come out of your mouth. I feel so proud of you, Nate.
I'm finally learning.
All of these years of talking soccer with you, and it's sticking. I feel so proud. Honestly, I think the main things for me was that we could not keep the ball. Every time we got the ball, it was like 1 to 2 pass tops and a turnover, or ball out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they had it, they were really, really good at off the ball movement, which you mentioned in your second and third runner comments. And that caused us fits just trying to figure out how to mark up on the transition counters. It took us a really long time to figure that out. And it was a little bit too little too late when we did figure it out. And there were a lot of those counterattacks in the first half. And like you mentioned, it's so hard for a center back, an outside center back in a 3-back system to have to make that decision. Like they know a striker is lurking between them and the middle center back. And if they go, they got to get it right. And ultimately it shifts everyone over. And like you said, those back post balls were open. The Luthers couldn't finish. And if they could, this one could have been a little bit more lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a couple balls that were just skied straight off the foot of a Duluth striker, right in the middle, right in front of net, open net almost. A terrible shot that went wide left with an equally open net. So anyway, we were quite lucky that the results after one half was 2-0, but that's not to say that the Crows looked totally lost. Like I think there was some really nice interplay up top between Tomas Mena, Colin Vilm, and AJ Whaley, but Duluth was able to defend well and take advantage of maybe the lack of familiarity between the three of them in a game situation.
Yeah, I feel like the first goal that they got was a total gift from Schatzko. I mean, he got pressured and turned around and passed the ball towards where he thought someone was going to be, and then just like an on-rushing striker comes in, goes around the goalkeeper. But ultimately, I thought Schatzko had a massive game outside of that one, and the second goal to me was totally avoidable if we lock things up. But if you're talking about like what happened next, the reaction, I thought that the inclusion of Marco Lennon and Leo Runstead, as well as Andre Ketsick. So Leo went into the center midfield, Marco went up top to partner with Tomas, and then Andre moved into one of those back three, I believe, for Reed Wolf in that second frame. And that's where I saw the tables turn. And there were a handful of chances for the Crows to try to get into this one and draw level, but it just wasn't in enough high volume to put the Duluth goalkeeper to the test.
Mm-hmm.
Tomas Mena also was massive with his energy all day, seeing like it was part of every substantial attack that came through.
Yeah.
All came through him, either energy or on the ball. And without that, I think the second half could have been a situation where Duluth puts the pedal down and goes for goal 3, 4, or 5. And instead, they had to sit deeper and account for Tomas, which in turn allowed the Crows to have a little bit more time on the ball, which was my big thing in the first half. Like, we just could not put passes together. And wherever we tried to put it, they were there, and they were ready to grab it and counterattack.
We commented on Mena's energy level I think, over text, even in the River Lake game. And I think he brought the same type of energy as a late sub against RKC. Like, this guy is just putting it all on the field this year. It's really, really awesome to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think overall, I hate to take an L to a Duluth team, but they're still a strong team, even if they're a big fish in a beer cup in the MPSL North Conference. Like this group and like our group mostly coming together in a short window, going up against that team that they did and not play their best. I think there's plenty of time for them to get more out of their non-league matches than what we saw in this one. And I will say, though, the group could benefit, I think, from a few more, maybe 3, 4 more USL2 caliber players behind Holmes, Mena, and Anderson. I'm not throwing the goalkeeper in there, who aren't getting serious minutes with the USL2 to come in and kind of help in a few of the areas. And I don't say that they need to replace players, but I feel like there's just a little bit of that veteran leadership missing on this team.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I think that is probably natural too when you consider this team's makeup, right? It's guys that are from the Futures program, definitely not, not a ton of college experience. Traditionally, in the Futures, maybe 2 years worth, which means not a lot of experience being leaders. But like, you got Otis, you got Tomas, you've got Holmes, guys that have already played for 4 years, have wrapped up their college career. Like, that's the kind of player you need, the kind of typical NPSL level player that we used to get year in and year out, right?
Like you include someone like Jonah
Yep.
And then maybe you include the other Augsburg trio that was at the River Lake game, and Harris, Richter, and Munzing. I think this is potentially a totally different game.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to sound too harsh, John. I think this game was a good wake-up call for MC2 ahead of the Minnesota Super Cup schedule. Like, for some teams, this tournament has already begun, and for the rest of them, they're going to have been playing together in the USL2 or the UPSL for weeks. So, like, despite the Futures practice regimen and the talent level on that team, like, this game makes me worry that we're going to have an uphill battle in this tournament.
If you put the USL2 team in straight away into the Minnesota Super Cup, I think there's a different feeling, clearly, right?
Yeah.
Than if you put the current MC2 team that we saw play last weekend, them just going in alone. However, I saw quality there and good ideas versus Duluth. That makes me feel less worried than you might, Nate. But there does have to be an increase in efficiency and productivity from the group to ensure that they're prepared, because, like you said, there's quality teams in the Minnesota Super Cup this year, top to bottom, including like the open qualifier, like that team from 18C, like they ran through the qualifying and they beat
Thunder Bay, dude,
men's side and Spam, and then they beat former USL2 side out of Canada. Why am I Thunder Bay? I mean, those aren't like 40-year-old guys on Stegmans, you know, like those are good teams. So I think it's still early days, but there's plenty of time for Coach Roy to get things trending in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, and it was great to see some of these guys. I definitely felt some nostalgia for last year, seeing Sam Kading out there, Tomas Mena, Colin Vilm, you had Huddy, you had Cy. These are some of my favorite players from the U19 and U23 teams last year. So I'm really excited to follow this MC2 crew through the tournament. I'm still confident that we can make some noise. I just, like I said, I hope that this is a little bit of a wake-up call to see kind of where the work needs to be done.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're spot on there. I also think, too, that like you want to win, right? But is MC2, in the way we're restructuring how the Futures program operates, is MC2 really to build the player for the next step, or is it to win against Duluth in a friendly, to win the Minnesota Super Cup? It's a very like knife edge which way you want to fall.
Yeah, I mean, I think the players want to win.
Absolutely. So do I. But if we can battle test and prepare 19-year-olds for the next step and weed out the ones that aren't ready for it and they have to have another year of development and they will stick to the process, I think it still works, even if the results aren't there. But we all hope for results. And with that, the result of this show is it is over, Nate. We have to give a big shout out to our longtime show sponsor, footballstadiumprints.com. Our friends at footballstadiumprints.com are always expanding their soccer-focused t-shirt designs, prints, and more. Don't forget to use the code CROWS10 for 10% off everything you purchase. And remember, all orders ship right from the States, so no international shipping charges. As a reminder, Minneapolis City is a 501c3, so you can feel good that your membership and your tickets double as a charitable donation to the club that does good. Memberships, as I mentioned earlier, are still on sale for the 2025 season, and as are single game tickets. But just go get the membership. You get a bunch of free or a bunch of cool stuff with it, and it just makes more sense. So just go do it. Head on over to mplscitysc.com and get yours today. We know you have thoughts. No one's hit us up in quite some time. Let us know what you want us to cover during the season, who you want us to interview. We still got a few interviews out there that we're trying to wrap up, which I'm working diligently on. But can't align schedules. Well, we're trying. But connect with us on Instagram at People's Pitch Podcast, and you can even email us if you have any questions or topics that you want us to cover on the show. mcscpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, you can always connect with the club on Twitter X at MPLSCitySC. But hit us up first. We get the show content first. That is all for this week. I'm John. That is Nate. Join us to the Nelly this Friday. Crows look to lock in their first victory against Dutch Lions FC LLC, whatever they are. We'll be back next week with a full recap and preview of the match against Sueño. Am I saying that right? Or
Sueño, yeah, for sure.
Sueño FC. I'm making that trip down, Nate, and you should probably take off work and do it too. So until next time, got hooked.